On that last video about the birds, this isn't the birds you would eat like chickens or ducks. A duck's bird, fowl, I don't know what. We're talking about the little birds that are flying in the sky, the things that we wouldn't expect there to be enough meat on. There are parts of Africa that have been super torn by these militia, where people have had their homes burned and all their belongings completely torched because they were just super racist fucks or super anti the other guy fucks. And again, I use fucks in order to say really evil shit. And I use shit to say the same sort of thing. It's just emphasis. God would say, stone them to death when giving emphasis, when saying something is super evil. I know God has to see that as just super evil. Why would God want you to carry out anything evil? God's God. God has the capacity to do that. Why does he need you to do that? Why do you have empathy in your head to realize that other people are like you and that empathy makes you feel what they feel? If you fail to identify with them, it is not God's problem. It's not, if you think it's evolution, it's not evolution's problem. It's your failure to realize the person that you should be feeling something about is the same as you. You're really just thinking of them as subhuman, as something of an animal, incapable of reasoning well. That's a failure to identify. It's an attribute of psychopathy. It's going to make your empathy fail, and it's going to give you the attributes of a psychopath. The psychopaths that you think are serial killers, there are lots of productive psychopaths out there. They just don't have the capacity to do one thing that you see as such a valuable thing, and we all see as a valuable thing, but it is not their fault. It is in their head. No matter whatever some Scientologists would tell you, L. Ron Hubbard did that book as an experiment. He was not expecting to be. He played into it because he's a fucking capitalist, but I assure you, he did not expect to have a following. He was probably having this experiment to see if he could create a book that somebody would that was just complete random shit, and give people this, maybe it's his ideology that he lived by and didn't understand might not actually be right. The people in Scientology see it as perfectly okay. I can see it as a interest in trying to control oneself, which is probably the best attributes of Scientology. The problem is they don't acknowledge psychological dysfunction. That would mean that they probably would not understand autistic people. They would probably think you could backward autism, probably even backward being gay, because that being gay is not psychological. It is. Some people would say that it's physical. I believe what it is it's a disorder of not loving your children or not doing it right in some form or another. It's more a problem either with if the parents or somebody they're not telling you about, because it's a trust issue. I think it's a trust issue. And it's I believe that it is about looking to from to being loved by that who would not give you the love that you deserve. It's it's a cruelty to the children. And I don't want to say it's the same as pedophilia, but I'm got this idea that pedophilia is another psychological disorder. It's not physical. My feeling about it, and this is inspired by a movie that was put out called Rewind, about a man who recalled that his brothers had sexually abused him, brought his children around to them, but completely something about his brain completely blocked it out. And then he realized it later, but he noticed his children were having problems, and then was able to kind of coax it out of them eventually through psychology or whatever it was that had really caused the behavior to just switch. He found out that his brothers, their uncles, were actually sexually abusing them. We call it sexual abuse. I see it as a neglectful or abusive parent who does not love them, and when they reach puberty, they 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 fail to see what love is, and they get this dopamine, reinforcing dopamine from the sexual thing, because I understand that being a porn addict, and from hearing things about dopamine and cocaine and all that. So dopamine, the root word of dopamine is dope. The dope. Okay, when people talk about dope, they're talking about dopamine. It's the reward center in the brain that tells you you're doing something good. It's it's there for a purpose, and it's to reinforce good behavior. There, but when you hit puberty, you find out there's that one thing of you that gives you the dopamine release. You confuse that idea with love, and then you turn around and will confuse. It's got to be something like that. Confuse that that thing that you think is love, because I certainly feel love whenever I'm doing it to porn stars. And I'm just like so loving. I kind of like just want to come out of the screen and kiss them and think they're the most wonderful thing. There are other guys who are abusive and will treat them abusive. And I don't know where that comes from, but my parents didn't abuse me. Um, I got spanked, but that's not abuse. Abuse is whenever they spank you or something for absolutely no reason, but just to take it out on you. That's abuse. Neglect is the failure to respond to your children in a way that's loving, to even acknowledge them in the case of Elton John. I don't know if that's the reason why he's gay. He tried really hard to see if he could really make it work being heterosexual, and that was in the movie. And he thought it was really cruel trick to do what he did to this woman by thinking he was using her to see if he could do it, and he wasn't able to do it. I don't have any problem with homosexuals. Um, there are places in the Bible which you can read in that God doesn't hate homosexuals. God really hates self-righteousness. I would say the self-righteous were the Pharisees, and Jesus said, it will be better on the day of judgment for the Sodomites than it will be for the Pharisees. The Pharisees are the guys who have the self-righteousness that put the loads on, basically wipe the speck from the brother's eye when they got a mote in their own eye, puts these loads of laws and things that people can't bear. You got these self-righteous Christians who will go out and say God hates fags. Sorry to use that word. I know the really bad connotation of that. I had a gay person tell me what it was. I've been to LGBTQ. I don't like the Q. I'm a plus. Acceptance, love. Um, there was a time whenever I was afraid of gay people, and that was because I was a child and I didn't understand. When you hit puberty, then you start to think that gay people are going to come out of the woodwork to have sex with you. And that can be fearsome to a kid, but that's not the, they're, believe me, they're the most wonderful people. A lot of them are just the most wonderful people in the universe. And then you got the guys who, in the movie Shawshank Redemption, um, Andy Dufresne's talking to Red, saying, "Those guys over there, the sisters are gay," and Morgan Freeman's character Red says, "Oh, they're not even gay. Those guys aren't even human. I mean, gay people are human. These guys are subhuman, not even human." And that's the guy who takes Andy Dufresne. Is it, what's his name? Tim something or other. Takes Andy Dufresne into the steam room, into the laundry room or whatever it is, and tells him, has this ice pick and says, "Give me a blowjob." And Andy Dufresne says to him, "If you put that through my head, the reaction of the brain is going to cause my jaw to lock, and you will lose your penis." And he ends up dropping the ice pick, beats him up, and I think butt fucks him. Really graphic, violent sexual behavior. That's the thing that people feared. My dad said that when he was in the military, I will not go into specifics, but there are people in the military, certain inhuman people who will perform such sexual acts. Same guys that you would find could be psychopaths. I mean, even what's his name? What's his name? Serial killer that was relatively quiet, created sandwiches out of his victims, try to make a sexual. Um, I'm I'm fascinated by psychopathy. There's a part of me, there's a compartment in my brain that says there's so much potential in dealing with psychology, and I don't want to go there. But I'm fascinated by psychology. I didn't specialize in it. If I'm a psychologist, it's by accident. It's by documentaries and just being fascinated by it. I think I know what a psychopath thinks. I get re-educated all the time, and so if I'm saying anything about psychopaths, I don't mean to be cruel to the psychopaths. I know you know I don't know anything about you guys. I'm just trying to do my best to try to understand. I'm trying to say to the empathetic people who have that capacity, and I'm not saying you psychopaths does want to have emotions, but maybe the urge to be a serial killer is to have the one emotion that you have the capacity to feel that feels good, and it's probably an expression of something inside that's been cooped up and is going to send you to prison because it'll make you a serial killer. Anger. Now, psychopaths do feel love. I heard that they can own a pet, and a pet will give them unconditional love. And psychopaths desire to be reciprocated and adored. There are women that'll give them that when the women know very well that the only thing that the psychopath can give them is security. And to a woman, that's enough, especially if she has a fear of being abused by men. Um, she will figure a way around it. She's super empathetic, and she is really good with emotions and being able to dissect and do things that I only wish I could with emotions and understanding the grays of acceptance that us guys probably push some law into them that's giving them super amounts of anxiety that comes back into the children when, when they're mothers. I'm dissecting my own mom because she does this to me. She super Martha Stewart type things, just really managing every little thing I do, and I'm just kind of like, Mom, I know. Everybody's been through that. I don't think it came from her. I think it came from some guy back there. I don't know if it was my father or somebody. It's got to be some guy's problem. I would err more on the side of a guy than a woman. It could have been something else. Who knows? An alien creature, divine intervention. I don't know. But there's this thing in there that has made them super critical. Maybe they have this, they could just see of all of the mistakes you've made in the past, they just expect he made mistakes in the past. He's going to make the mistake again. He's going to make it again. I can see he's going to make it, and he's going to make it, and I have to let him know because he's probably going to make it again.